Let's get down to business. To defeat the Huns. Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? You are the saddest bunch I ever met. But you can bet before we're through, Mr. I will make a man out of you. Tranquil as a forest, but on fire within. Once you find your center, you are sure to win. Welcome to the episode. My name is Liban, and this is Liban is Listening. We're gonna go straight into it. This is a conversation between me and Johnny, and I'm gonna fade us right in. Let's go it in media res, right into it. Boom.
All right, listen. I wanna ask you a question, man.
You want to put me
I
on
wanna
the
ask you a
spot?
question.
You don't even want to give me a chance to think about what you're gonna say. You just want
No, of
us
course
to
not.
start recording, and you're gonna put me
I
on the
would.
spot and make me uncomfortable. Okay, let's do it.
I'm genuine. I'm not making you uncomfortable. We can always cut it, whatever. But I wanna know. I wanna know.
I wanna know if you love me. Na,
Yeah,
na,
that's
na,
what I wanna
na,
know. I wanna know if you love me.
na, na. No, it's how will I know? Not I want to know. It's how will I
How
know
will I
by
know? No, that's completely wrong. I don't even
that's
think it's will you love me.
how will I know?
No.
No, oh, I got it completely wrong.
Yeah,
This is something I'm
you're
not
gonna.
good at. I'm
You
terrible
have to
with
cut that out.
lyrics. I'm so bad.
You have to cut
No,
that out.
I'm okay with people knowing that I'm not good with lyrics. Lyrics aren't my thing.
Well, there's actually a lot of things I wanted to ask you for this episode. A lot of the notes I have for this episode, it's stuff that I wanna understand you a bit better.
He wants to understand me better.
Don't know that song. That's not even
No,
a song.
that's not a song.
All right.
I'm singing. I'm singing what you're saying.
All right. And I'm worried you're gonna clam up on me though, Lupan.
No, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you
I'm
straight.
worried.
I'll
I'm
give it to
worried
you
you're gonna clam
straight,
up.
like pear cider, straight from the
Oh
pear
my
tree.
God. I wanna know. I wanna know what podcasts you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanna know your vision for the podcast.
All right, let me bring up my podcast app, and I'll tell you immediately. Let's just
You
go
tell me,
through it.
and I want you, and I'm going to ask you some questions about it, because I think we have slightly diverging. Because
Oh,
the only
we've got
podcast
very
I've listened
different
to,
tastes. We've got very different tastes.
not just different tastes, I think we have different backgrounds almost in podcasts. Because for me, podcasts basically video game podcasts. I used to listen to them 10 years ago when I listened to podcasts a lot. I listened to video game podcasts, which are all 3-4 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
All quite boring. They're really, that's where the term friendships in. It's not my term. It comes from that community, video gamers podcast. It's like friendships. It's 4 hours of like dudes really not saying anything exciting, saying I played this, but blah, blah, you know. And then I like conspiracy podcasts. I've listened to a few, and I there's not really any. Every time I've tried to get into another one, I've not really stuck with it for more than 6 months, a year, whatever. But go on, you tell me.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna just. It's not alphabetical. It's just I'm gonna go from the top left to the bottom right. Starting at the top left, we've got Welcome to the Adventure Zone, which is
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast about it's a family. It's 3 guys who are brothers and their dad, and they all play Dungeons and Dragons together, and it's really good. They have a very nice campaign, and it's a very intricate one where they sort of do lots and lots of different things and have lots of different adventures, and they're all quite funny dudes, and they all play off each other really well, so it's really fun to listen to.
How long is that podcast?
Oh, it's usually, I think, about an hour and a half, maybe, per episode. Yeah, something like that.
Right. That's pretty. Yeah, that's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. That's
Yeah.
a whole different thing. I get it. I get why that would be entertaining.
Yeah. Next one is one called Hello from the Magic Tavern. It's an improv comedy podcast.
Oh, I know this. You
Yeah, I think
recommended this to me
I
a while
recommended
ago.
it to you years ago. It's an improv comedy podcast about a guy from our world who slips into another world, another magical, fantastical world, and then he sort of, every episode is him having a chat with a new character from that world and trying to explore it a bit. So it's funny. It's not always great, but it's always entertaining, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Next one is How Did This Get Made? Which is...
Oh shit! You still listen to that? I listened to that for like a brief period about 6 years ago
Yeah.
where I thought it was mildly funny. And I remember the episode
Hmm.
that was like, fuck this shit. These guys aren't funny enough. You
Well,
know, the episode was,
yeah. Go on.
let me tell you this, because I remember this vividly. Because Maya actually was listening to a bit of this,
Okay.
and she got bored of it. She was not into podcasts. It was the episode they did on Demolition Man. And they did an episode of Demolition Man, and they were, because the whole shtick is like, oh, this movie's a shit, and then they rip the piss out of the movie. Okay, fine. They did Demolition Man, and they were acting like it's not one of the best movies ever created. And I thought, okay, either these guys are fucking idiots for not seeing how good that movie is, or they're trying to fake that it's a bad movie just to kind of. And I just thought, it's not funny enough. You're not funny enough to pull off this in Demolition Man. I'll take Demolition Man over any of those cunts. And when I say that, I mean, if there was a choice between all four of them dying in a car accident and the existence of a future for Demolition Man,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me.
I mean, it's a clear choice. I think for most people it would be, but luckily we don't live in a world where we have
Most
to choose.
people,
We don't have to choose
most
between
people,
the deaths of 4 people and the existence of a movie. It's a
most people would choose to send them all to Guantanamo Bay over losing our culture, losing Demolition Man. Right? You're agreeing with me?
I
Most
agree
people,
with you. I agree with you.
most people. These are all American podcasts, right?
Yeah, every single one. I don't think I've got a single one on here that isn't an American podcast.
Are you serious?
Oh, I've got one from the BBC called Fighting Talk, which is a sports podcast. But other than that, everything else is American. Yeah.
Okay, go on. Let's rule through a few more names on that podcast list.
What's the next one? Stuff You Should Know, which is just two dudes talking about random, edutainment kind of articles.
Hate the title of that podcast. Stuff You Should Know. It's very like patronizing.
All right, good to know.
Stuff I should know.
Stuff you should know.
Don't tell me what I should do or should I?
You should know. You should know about everything, Johnny. Improv for Humans is the next one. It's an improv comedy podcast.
I know that one. I listened to it for a while. It was good for a brief period, and then it went to shit. I'm surprised you're still listening to it though.
I don't listen to it regularly. It's still on my feed, but I listen to it about once every sort of 5-6 episodes. I don't listen to it.
I thought you fell off that before I did it.
I go through periods. I go through periods with it.
Yeah.
What else we got? Mission to Zix, another improv comedy podcast. It's like Hello from the Magic Tavern, but instead of being a fantasy one, it's a science fiction story. Then we've got Film Spotting, which is a film review podcast.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
And then we've got Dear Joan and Jessica? No, what does that say? I don't know. That's one where I listened to a single episode and then I didn't listen to any more of it, but I didn't unsubscribe, so it's just sitting there. Talk to Me in Korean, which was a podcast that I used to use like a long time ago when I was learning Korean. This
is a big fact. We shouldn't gloss over this. You speak Korean.
Yes, yeah, I do.
The listeners should know that you're a very weird guy in that you could suddenly decide you want to gain a skill and then gain it in 6 months. Like
Not
speaking
6
Korean.
Months. It literally
6
took me
months.
years and years to learn Korean.
Piano, playing the piano, speaking Korean. What else? You're a very bizarre guy like that. Kind of tragic, actually, how much you could do and how much of your life you've not done stuff. Okay. Although we could say that about everyone.
Now I'm going to sit here and get depressed.
No, don't get depressed. Don't get depressed. You know this. We've spoken about this before.
Yeah, but I like to not think about it. And then when I think about it, it makes me sad.
Now I've recorded it and let everyone in the world know.
Now everybody
I think that's even better.
I'm full of unfulfilled potential.
No, it's better to have potential than ever try.
Oh no, that's the opposite of what everybody says. Because everybody always
says
the
world
better
is
to
fucked.
try.
No. The world is fucked right now. If you go out and try something, if you go out and you become the greatest guitarist on the planet, right? What do you think is going to happen? You think you're going to get a record deal? You think you're going to live a rock and roll life like Jimi Hendrix? No. You're still going to be just a fucking jobbing session musician because this world does not appreciate talent, you know? And that's going to be even more depressing, you know? Don't go out and become a great sculptor. What the fuck are you doing? What do you think you're going to do? You're still going to be working as a fucking landscaper. That's the best you can do. Maybe make enough money, make rent
the
by
key
the
is
end of
to
the
be
month.
mediocre at something and then use that, like
The
we're
key
doing
is
with
to
this
be
podcast.
not be mediocre.
Have
The
a
key is
mediocre
to
podcast that gets slight traction somewhere, and then just lean into that as hard as you can.
No. The key is to know that you could be brilliant. You could have been brilliant.
I could have been a contender.
Yeah, you could have been a contender, but remain disgruntled and never actually follow through and blame the world for not being ready to appreciate the talents. That is the only path to a happy life.
I think you're describing a lot of people there. I think you just described an entire swathe of society.
Good. All those people need to get on and donate money to me.
All right, there you go. If you are a disgruntled artist who never quite fulfilled your potential, if you were gifted in school and then were sort of like your parents sort of looked at you and thought, oh, my kid's going to do great things, and then you never quite did, you got burnt out in your late teens, early 20s, if any of this rings a bell, subscribe to our podcast and send us money on our Patreon, because we're with you. We're the same.
We're
on the same page.
We're with you.
We're
on the same page. I'm not even joking. Things are doomed, Liban. We're about to enter a centuries-long dark age, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are generations away from ever seeing a renaissance in the world. So either accept that and don't even try, or well, I'll leave that for another time. That's something that's a very big topic that I could end up speaking for 4 hours about.
Don't go into
this. This is interesting. The reason I asked you about this podcast is because I noticed in your editing of the previous episodes,
mm-hmm.
I'm starting to get an idea of your vision for the podcast,
mm-hmm.
which is 1 hour long, focused on humor,
mm-hmm.
mainly, and accessible. Would that be incorrect? Is that incorrect?
That sounds about right.
Because I'm just saying, because when I think of a podcast, I think 3 hours,
mm-hmm.
everything left in, pauses, fumbles, boring, long, meandering conversations that lead nowhere,
mm-hmm.
left in, right? In fact, the whole podcast might be a meandering conversation.
Yeah,
that's what I imagine.
So shall we stop editing that? Shall we? But the thing is,
no. I'm not saying I want
that, because there's so many things that we don't want out there. There's so many things that we say or share that we have to sort of cut out, and then I don't know.
Of course, we have to edit out me saying the N-word, which has happened at least a dozen times each episode.
The N-word, the F-word, the R-word, the A-word, the B, the C, the D, the entire alphabet, Johnny.
We have, the alphabet of slurs. Yeah, of course we have to edit that.
Hey, there's a coffee table book idea, the alphabet of slurs. Do you think we could get Penguin to publish that?
But what are you going to put for illustrations?
I don't know. We can get someone to draw like.
Coffee table books are visual. They're not,
Yeah, well, we can get someone
we'll
to draw examples of every slur.
We'll get some of the best designers in the world to do we'll get calligraphers, we'll get artists to just make those slurs look beautiful.
Oh.
Present those slurs in the most. In fact, this is sounding more like a postmodern art project.
Just as loving as possible.
If you told this to any kind of St. Martin's College, they'd probably nick your idea and get an A for their interview thesis with it.
All right, let's keep that one.
Terrible lot, the St. Martin's lot. Absolute shite. But,
okay, here's what we're saying. So you want this to be more like just 3 hours?
No, I don't want this. No, I'm not saying I want this. I'm just saying I have to align myself with you because I trust you. Are you leading me where the money's going? I'm trusting you to lead me where the money is.
Listen, if we want money, there might come a day when we can sit here and talk for 2 to 3 hours, and we have enough devoted fans and devoted listeners that they're going to sit there and they're just going to be like pigs at the trough, just taking whatever we shovel at them. Today, being who we are and having the level and the status that we do, no one's going to accept that. We do have to have a presentable package.
Well, hold your horses.
Go on.
Because, first of all, like, I was thinking this as well, because Amos, who listened to this podcast, our third member,
Yeah.
he listened to this, and he was like, "Oh," I said, "Hey, what do you think of it?" He said, "I was playing a video game while I was listening to it," and he said, "Yeah, I laughed at bits of it, and yeah, whatever. I was just playing the game." And I was like, "This is how people listen to shit. This is how I listen to shit."
Yeah.
You know, and that's why those like 3-4 hour long podcasts work, because people aren't on for the whole hour they're listening to your show.
Yeah,
They
they
don't-
dip in and out. Their concentration
dip-
comes and goes.
Yes, right. And we have a short show, like an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe they tune in that, but I was thinking like 3 hours. It's like you tune in, tune out, you tune in, you tune out. Isn't that better when you have like 3 hours to tune in and tune out?
Here's what I'm saying though. That might work later on, but it won't work now, because the initial investment of somebody looking at the table of episodes and seeing episode 1 4 hours long, someone's going to be looking at that going, fucking hell, I can't sit there and listen to this for 4 hours. You got to lull them in with short ones first and then go as long as you want.
But it's different.
There's a threshold. There's a threshold over which people won't like listen. Just even if they would just press play and let it run. If it's the first time they're checking something out, no one's going to risk checking out something that's 4 hours long.
But I'm not sure you're right about that, because with a podcast, there's no sense of completion. Like, you start watching a TV show, you got to watch the end to see how it ends. You start whatever. You start watching a YouTube video. Oh, I've got to see where this goes. But with a podcast, I think people feel perfectly fine. Dip in 20 minutes, bored of this, off. You know? Because it's more about the vibe. You're not getting to some conclusive end with a podcast.
And
it's
I
a
think
continual...
this is where our different approaches comes into play. Because I think that describes your experience with your like video game podcast that you dip in and out of.
Right.
Whereas the ones that I listen to, I do tend to listen to them from beginning to end. Even if I don't pay attention the whole time and I sort of focus on a few other things while it's playing, for the most part, I do listen to them from beginning to end.
Yeah. Right, I have 2 more questions. Firstly, this isn't a big question. When am I going to get to come out on this podcast? And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, Liban. How long are you going to censor me?
I have not censored you at all.
This is censorship.
If I've cut out stuff, it's been because it's been in other sections that I've cut out. If you want to put something out there as a statement, I'm more than willing to give you the platform to say whatever you want. You say, go ahead, please come out, Johnny. Tell the world.
But I'm asking you, though, because look, if you say to me, Johnny, I don't think it's smart for you to go full red pill. I think, I mean, first of all, if you said that, I would remind you, what's the biggest podcast on the planet?
What is the biggest podcast on the planet? Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So maybe, you know. But if you said that to me, I would say, okay, if we're going for the safe audience, I will call it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Listen, the anti-Semitic remarks, if that's the metaphor.
Not just anti-Semitism, misogyny, conspiracy.
Yeah.
Making people understand that we didn't go to the moon, that Ted Kaczynski was framed.
Who's Ted Kaczynski?
That the earth is hollow.
Wait.
You know who Ted Kaczynski is, the Unabomber.
Oh, I don't know his name. I just know the name, the Unabomber. I don't know the guy's like story or anything. Anyway, we don't need to go into.
There's a
That's a whole
cult
thing.
symbolism. There's a cult symbolism everywhere. That
Listen,
vampires exist.
I'm willing to. I think this is all interesting stuff. I'm more than happy for you to let people know what a weirdo you are, because
Well, hold
people.
on. It's playful and nice
Yeah.
until we get to the current conspiracies that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And people have all these touchy nerves that you can poke their buttons, which, I enjoy. I mean, I'm not an advocate. I'm not
Listen,
arguing.
I think if you sit there and you just let people know what you believe, and you're not sitting there trying to convince anyone to take action in any shape or way or form, then you're on safe ground and you're still sort of safe and lovable. I think it's the moment when you sit there and you tell people, do this and do that and do this and do that, and have a call for action, that you become a dangerous cult figure.
I agree with you somewhat. And I never really tell people what to do. You know my beliefs, I know your beliefs. We have completely different beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
We accept this. Fine, I'm cool with that.
Ebony and Ivory.
But
Michael
these
Jackson and
days,
Paul McCartney.
these days.
No, wait, it wasn't Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney. Who was it?
Stevie Wonder and
Stevie
Paul McCartney.
Wonder and Paul McCartney. Why? Oh, yeah, because Michael Jackson
Because
was
he
white
did do
at
a
that
song.
point.
He did
So then
he did
was-
say
that would be-
with Paul McCartney.
that would be Ivory and Ivory.
Say. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, it's a great tune.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, it's
I'm
a
gonna have to
beautiful
listen to
tune.
that after this.
Check that out.
What's it called? Say, say, say.
Yes, I think it's called Say. It's something pre. Yes, it's Say. Brilliant.
And was Michael Jackson black or white at the time?
He was black, I think.
So
black. This would have been like
that could technically be Ebony and Ivory as well. So Paul McCartney had a bunch of Ebony and Ivory projects.
Well, no, come on. Ebony and Ivory is I remember people diss that song for being cheesy. And I actually think, that is how we are going to heal that is how we're going to heal racial tensions.
Make it a better place for you and for me and for
All right, where are we?
the human race.
I have one more question I want to ask you.
No, we haven't resolved your second question.
What's the second question? Listen,
your
the
second question,
you decide.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say to you what... Oh, what's her name? Poker Face.
Oh, Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. I'm going to say to you what Lady Gaga says to all of her fans. She says to her fans, and they love her for it, let your freak flag fly. Johnny, let your freak flag fly. Let people know who you are.
That sounds good.
They will hate you, but some of them will love you, and the ones that love you will give us a lot of money.
That sounds good, Liban. But do you really want me to come out and say, the vaccines are just the money-making scheme?
There we go.
The vaccines are just the money-making scheme. I have a lot of sympathy for people who had to take them for their job. I completely get it. But at the same time, do me a lemon. Come on. You can't say everyone. Come on. The whole thing's covered in shit.
You and Novak Djokovic can enjoy your little.
The tide is turning. Yeah.
The tide is not turning. It's literally just you and Novak. It's you and Novak sitting in a corner, just talking to each other, going, "Oh my god, what are they doing?"
There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us out here, Liban. What boost do you want now?
I've just had my 2 regular shots. I haven't had
2 regular shots. And when did you get the second one?
Ages ago. I think like October.
Ages ago.
No, September, something like that.
Yeah, you got to have another this year.
I mean, that's what they say. I got the COVID a few weeks ago. Maybe if I got the booster, I wouldn't have got it. Or who knows? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a doctor or anything, but I'm not going to sit here and say that you can't say what you think either. You're not a monster for not wanting to.
Oh no, but here's the thing. And we should cut all of this out because I don't want to argue about this stuff. I have my beliefs. I'm
Yeah.
never taking the vaccine. Fine.
I'm
I
not.
don't care what
We're
anyone
not going to
else
sit
does.
here arguing about things. I'm not going to sit here trying to convince you of something. I
But I
know.
don't want to be a.
I know how deeply embedded your opinions are. I'm never going to change your mind about anything. And
Yeah. No,
same way with
yeah.
me. You're not going to change my mind about
Yeah.
anything. But
I.
I don't think we should, have to hide what we think about things, because that's not necessarily dishonest, but I don't know. It just feels like it's not worth it.
Yeah, and I just wonder because with this podcast, we are technically becoming public figures. I mean, it sounds laughable because we haven't put this out yet. We probably won't have any listeners, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're putting yourself
Public
out
figures.
there,
Yeah. Thought
and
leaders.
there's stuff that. Did you say thought leaders?
Yeah, we're thought leaders.
I heard that phrase the other day. I thought, what the fuck? Someone used it unironically. They was like, oh, look at this cunt. He was once this, and then he tried to think of himself as a thought leader. And I was like, the fuck is a thought leader? And I Googled it. It's like, people calling themselves fucking thought leaders.
It's absolute nonsense. It's what it comes from is specifically LinkedIn, where people who reach a certain level of seniority of either being CEOs or chief financial officers or business coaches or stuff like that, they reach a certain level. Yeah, that's basically what they end up doing. Is they try to have a little sideline where they sell books and they sell like one-on-one business coaching sessions, and they call themselves thought leaders because they're like, business isn't just about money and this and that. It's also about all these other factors, and I can give you the secrets to how to build a great organization. And it's a catchy new age business phrase, is to call yourself a thought leader when really you're just a guy who likes to talk too much.
Yeah, I mean, you're a podcaster basically.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's insane, this world that we currently live in.
So are you ready to be a thought leader? Are you ready to take on the role of a public figure and thought leader?
I don't want to be a thought leader. I don't want to be a thought leader. I don't even want to be a public persona. I can have enjoyable conversations with you without recording them. I want money. I want money. That's why I'm here. I want to get paid, right?
Yeah, so do I. We're here for a cash grab.
Financially, what are our goals with this podcast? Let's say with 2022, we have this year. We'll probably start putting them up. Probably Feb, right? In a week. Well, I don't know how many we'll have, whatever. What are you planning? We'll put them up in February, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Right. So we put the podcast up in February. We don't start the Patreon immediately. We don't want to seem too e-beggy, right? How many listeners do we have to have before we put a Patreon
on? Gotta have 1,000 listeners.
1,000 listeners.
Yeah, which we're not going to get for at least a year.
You think it would take a whole year to get 1,000 listeners?
Yeah. Who are we?
What do you mean? We're as good as the next fucking cunt.
Yeah, but nobody knows our names.
To
nobody knows our names. I don't know my name. Do you know my name? What's your name? Who are you? I don't know you. I don't know you from Joe down the street. Why should I listen to you? Fuck off.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't know. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so it's going to be a slow grind until we reach 1,000. And then it's like one of those graphs where it's like, it's slow, up a bit, slow, up a bit. And then eventually we might get lucky and get like a curve where it goes massively up because somebody mentioned us somewhere, and we might get a bit of traction. But for a long time, it's just, who knows? A year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows?
6 months?
It could be a week if we're fucking lucky. If we, I don't know, if the right person hears us and recommends us to the right person, we might get lucky, but I sincerely doubt it.
Let's say we did this for 2 years. What are we going to be earning at the end of 2 years? Give me a projection. Give me estimates. 2
years from now, we will break even off the money that we spend on hosting the podcast. We'll literally
$12 a month.
Literally, the $12 a month that we spend on hosting. That's
what you really think?
Over 2 years, that's going to be a couple of £100, and then we're going to get that couple of £100 back.
Is that what you really think?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this then?
Because maybe in year 3, maybe in year 4, suddenly we'll start, getting some sponsors, getting people on a Patreon. You've got to build a community that sort of is willing to give you money.
Um,
And that doesn't happen overnight.
3 years of every week talking, throwing out pearls,
Yes.
throwing out gold.
Yes.
And at the end of 2 years, you think we're going to be making $12 a month.
Yes.
Do you really think that?
Maybe not $12 a month, maybe a little bit more, but I don't think it's going to be a significant addition to your finances anytime soon.
I mean, I understand. You're right. It's tough out there. It's saturated. There's trillions of podcasts.
It's trillions. We're riding a wave which has already been going for a very long time at this point.
90% of those podcasts, though, I mean, they're dog shit, right?
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, the last 10% isn't that great either. But 90% of dog shit.
All right.
Aren't we doing something better here?
But what were you saying to me a little while ago about being the best guitarist in the world? What does talent and skill and excellence?
Right.
What does excellence get you, Johnny?
$12 a month, apparently.
$12 a month. Excellence gets you $12 a month, baby.
Honestly, I don't know if I could be asked for this. For 2 years, for $12 a month. I wanna listen. We got to be making $1,000 after the first year. $1,000 a month. I mean, that's split both ways, and God knows who else is taking a cut. Split both ways, and that's not even enough for me. That's not even enough for me.
It's you're not going to retire.
You think that's unfeasible? You think that's off the table?
It's not off the table. It's eminently possible. It just depends on the luck of the draw. I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to give it a go and see what happens. But I'm trying to be grounded. I'm trying not to get.
You're trying to appear humble.
No, it's not. It's not about. It's not about humility.
You don't want to seem greedy. I know. I get it. And it's smart of you to do that. It's smart of you to do that.
It's just so many times in my life I've gotten carried away with creative projects, and I've thought, oh my God, this is so creatively fun. This is so interesting. This is so different. People are going to love this. It's going to catch attention. It's going to lead to something, and it never does. So what I've learned to do is try to manage my own expectations and just be like, you know what, I'm doing this so I can enjoy the process, learn something from it, and then if some people seem to like it, or if I make money off of it, that is a bonus thing.
You're right, actually. You're right. I'm sorry, I'm greedy. Listen, the markets are down. I'm just as greedy. Well.
I'm just as greedy as you are. I'm just as greedy as you are. If it was up to me, I would sell out as quickly as I could. Like I said in the first episode, if Elon Musk ever starts buying podcasts, I'm going to go to him and be like, Elon, I've got a fantastic podcast you can buy here, but I just don't think he's going to be interested.
Yeah, let's see where this goes. All right. But that's what I wanted to ask you. Mainly, I just wanted an idea for your vision for the podcast, because I wondered what you was thinking, what your vision was. Anyway, I've got other notes we could go through.
Well, just to say what the vision thing is, I think we're more likely to make money with a 1 hour package than a 4 hour package. Especially, I
trust you. You're the leader.
Especially, no, not necessarily the leader, but especially if you look at it in terms of time that you put into something versus what you get back, this is much more sustainable if we're trying to do 1 hour rather than 4 hours. Because if you're getting, a year from now, if we're getting £12 a month, you're much more willing to keep doing it if you only have to spend an hour doing it, rather than every single week spending 4 hours wringing yourself out of ideas and emotions. And getting £12 for it.
$12 a month, I'll give you 5 minutes. This podcast is going to be like 30 seconds at the end of 2 years if I'm getting fucking $12 a month.
This is the BBC Home Service.
Anyway, Liban, I wanted to also, I thought it might be interesting, because you're the open book in this podcast.
Yes. Did you have a series of questions to expose me?
Well, not a series of questions. What I thought would be interesting for us to talk about on a podcast, insightful, gossipy, something nice for the listeners.
Go on.
You're an open book,
Yes.
good opportunity.
Uh-huh.
I want to hear a bit more, because I know obviously you tell me stories sometimes. I want to hear a bit more about dating in London.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear what it's like, what the women are like,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of experience, what's the, because I've been in a relationship for about fucking 10 years now,
Mm-hmm.
since before Tinder, before all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanna ask you, Liban.
All right. Ask me some
tell
questions
me-
and I'll try to answer. I'll try to give you a bit of insight into my experience.
All right, well, let's start with some juicy stuff.
All right. Start juicy. What's the juicy juice?
What was
Juicy.
the worst date that you've been on?
I mean, at this point, the worst dates are the boring ones. I'd rather have a bad date where we both hate each other rather than another
Has
date
that happened?
where we sit across from each other and just do not have anything interesting to talk about because we're who knows what.
Well, what has that happened where you hate each other?
Not hate, but
What was it you said? A bad date which goes like a disaster or something.
yeah, I'd rather have a bad disastrous date because at least that'll give you an interesting story rather than a date
Yeah.
where you're just having a fucking boring time.
Have you had a disaster date? Do you have any disaster date stories?
Well, one that often comes to mind when I think of that sort of thing is there was this one German girl that I went on a date with, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. No,
Tell me about her.
It's even longer.
Describe her.
I can't remember her name. Give me a name. Give me a name so I can got someone to refer to.
Hans.
Hans, that's a man's name. Give me a female German name.
Yeah, what's that? Heidi.
woman's
The
name.
classic German.
Heidi. Okay. All right. Heidi from Germany. I met her in East London. We met outside her local tube station, and then I think she's been watching too many romantic comedies because I think she had this little test that she set up. Which I was like, because clearly in her mind she was like, oh, this is kooky and interesting, and if he's my kind of guy, he'll go along with this, and if he doesn't, then it's clearly obvious that we're not meant to be. I think that's the approach that she was coming into it with.
Yeah.
So this was in the middle of winter. I think I'd say it's about December or January. It's freezing cold outside. It's slippery as fuck. And this is around 6 or 7 in the evening. The sun has already set. We leave Leytonstone Station. We go towards the Olympic Park. And then I think there's like... What do you call those climbing sets on treetops that you build for children to go like...
Tree houses. Climbing frame.
Yeah, there's a climbing. There's this little area with tree houses where you climb up, and then there's bridges, wooden bridges between the trees and the climbing.
Right.
So she took me to this spot, and then it's dark as fuck. And she was like, I thought this would be an interesting thing to do. I love this little spot. Do you want to come up to these tree houses and walk around between the trees? And I looked at her and I almost started laughing because I was like, fuck no, I'm not doing that.
Wait, why not?
Because it's slippery as hell. Like I looked at the trees and I could see the frost on the trees, and I could see like the climbing on the bit of the wood that you're supposed to climb up on. It just looked dangerous as hell, and I was not that's not my idea of an adventure.
Oh my God.
Is to go up in a scary looking tree where it's really dark and potentially hurt myself. I was like, this is not my idea of a good time.
Can't, but you've done the impossible, Liban. You made me sympathise with the woman.
I don't care.
You know, you started telling this story, and you know me, I hate women. I was
Yes.
ready to
You were
call this
ready
woman
to.
a bitch.
Absolutely.
I was ready to be like, fuck that hoe. And somehow,
Yes.
why didn't you just go up on the tree? It's quite,
Listen,
it'd be fun. It's weird. You're getting out of your comfort zone.
I would
It's
obviously
something memorable.
listen. I respect the intentions, but it just wasn't sensible. It just wasn't sensible.
Right. And if there's one thing that is the basis for the world's greatest romances, the world's greatest love affairs, is being sensible. That's what you want, kids. That's what you want, kids. When you're dating, when you're exciting, the
All right.
essence of sexual frisson
Is
is
sensibility, sense and
sensible.
sensibility. There's a whole book.
Sensibility.
There's a whole book
Yeah.
called.
Fucking hell, Liban. Come on, man.
I'm a very heavy guy. Okay, if I was to fall,
You're not
down,
that heavy. Come
if I
on.
was if I was to fall down, I would injure myself so fucking badly. I would be laid out for 6 months trying to fix my legs, trying to do physio, trying to do. I literally saw the second she asked me, I saw 6 months of physiotherapy and pain, and I was like, it's not worth it to risk it for me.
I can't believe it. I'm literally thinking like a woman now. I'm like,
Why
if
would
I was
I?
a woman and he said that, I would think, what a coward. And this is the guy. We're trying to spend
Listen,
it.
I'm 100%. Call me a coward. Call me a pussy. Call me whatever you want. I am not going up that fucking tree. This is not my idea of a romantic time.
That's a kid's playground. Kids do that every day.
In the middle of winter, in the dark, with barely any lighting.
It just sounds romantic to me.
Listen. I hope she finds the guy who's willing to go up there with her. I am not willing to do that. I'm not risking life and limb for pussy, Johnny. I am not risking life and limb.
Oh my God. You know what? I give up my misogynist ways. Men are really terrible. Men are awful. Fuck men.
I wonder.
Right, give me another story.
I wonder.
Give me another
Listen.
story.
Let's stay in it for a little bit longer. I wonder,
No.
it's
over.
I wonder.
It's over. This is over like the
there's a
date. I feel like
situation
hiding now. I'm out of here. I think I'm gonna go home and wash my hair, man. All right. I don't need to. I know you want to, but I think I'm gonna go home and wash my hair. Right?
So you're telling me you would have gone up?
I would have gone up. I mean, it would have been nice. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's probably a bit weird, but
I'm okay with
right,
weird.
she's a bit...
I'm okay with weird. Weird is fine. I'm not okay with dangerous. I'm not okay with dangerous.
It's not that dangerous, though. I mean, maybe okay.
To me, it is.
You know what?
It felt dangerous to me.
All right, I find it. Go on. What was you going to say? What was your defense there?
No defense. I was just going to think if there was a situation where I would say yes. I was trying to think.
Was this woman not worth it?
That's what I'm wondering. Is if I was in a relationship with someone who I actually loved and liked and cared about, if we happened to be walking by that place in the middle of the night, and she wanted to have a bit of fun and do something, and she said, "Oh my God, Liban, let's go up those trees." I'm wondering if I would have done it, and maybe I would.
The way she said it, yeah. Was she? Did you like her? Did you get a nice vibe from her? Was she good looking?
Yeah, she was really pretty. Yeah, she was very good looking.
Oh, very good looking, you say?
Yeah, she was very attractive.
Now I'm starting to sympathise with you a bit more.
Why are you sympathising with me suddenly?
Because now I'm thinking, oh, is she like one of these good-looking girls who just likes to tell men what to do and have them do it, like a dance monkey dance sort of thing? Fuck this bitch.
Oh my God. Okay, I take it back. She was ugly. She was a munter. She's a complete butterface.
Now it's romantic again.
Oh, it's
Fuck
romantic
you,
again. No, listen. She was a pretty girl. She was perfectly, fine. I think
she liked to have a laugh. Was she like joyful? Was it like a joyful thing? Like, you know what, spontaneous?
I think that's the aspect she was coming to it from, and I respected it. And I said, you know what, I completely get what this is, but I'm just not willing to go up that tree. I'm sorry.
All right, 2 questions. First one: do you think she's ever asked someone else to jump?
I'm sure she does. I'm sure she does.
She does.
Wait,
Fuck this bitch.
No. I'm not saying I know for sure. I'm saying I'm sure that she does. Because for me, this felt so obviously to me something like she does as a character test or as a test.
She led you to the tree.
She led me to the tree.
Fuck this bitch.
She led
Fuck
me
this
to the
bitch.
tree. We walked from the station, and the tree house fortress area was about 5 minutes from the station, and she's local to the area. So to me, it felt like anytime she goes on a date, it's a little test that she puts guys through, just so that she can get a bit of insight into who they are.
Have you got this girl's email? I've got some words for her. Give me a number. Fuck this bitch.
Why have you suddenly changed? I don't understand. You were so obviously on her side just 2 minutes ago.
Completely different. If it was a spontaneous, if a woman is with you and she gets a spontaneous idea to do something, that's romance.
That wasn't spontaneous. I can tell you for sure that wasn't spontaneous.
If that wasn't spontaneous and it literally is like, I'm gonna make this fucking, make this guy do something because I can, and this is what I do with all the guys, and then fuck her.
Well, what if let's be slightly more, let's be a little bit more generous and say this isn't something that she does to every dude, but it just occurred to her, and it's something that she's done she's done it a couple of times. No, because she's done it once before. It's not romantic. She had fun with one dude. It didn't work out with that dude, and then she was like, "All right, that's a fun idea for us, something to do in this area, though. So let me take this next." No,
that's the plot of Vertigo. Well. That's the plot of Vertigo. Pathologically being attached to relationships you've had in the past and trying to project them onto a present one. That's literally, she's a psycho. That's not romantic, then, is it?
No, it's
That's not romantic. What happened after? What happened afterwards? You said.
Afterwards,
I'm a bit scared. It's a bit high.
Did you have to say it that way? Did you have to make me
sorry.
So emasculated. Yeah, no, okay. After I capitulated and castrated myself on the spot, we went for a walk around the area. We had a nice chat, and then we went for a pub drink and a meal.
And then afterwards, you just never spoke again.
Yeah, we never spoke again.
Mutually understood.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am on your side in the end, there, Liban.
So I think that was an interesting story. At least I got a fun evening out of it. I would rather have that, where it just is blatantly obvious that neither of us nothing's going to happen, rather than a mediocre date where we sit there and we have just a very boring conversation that's just as forgettable as anything else.
Have you got any other disaster date stories? That's not even a big disaster.
No, that's not a disaster. That's just like a weird thing that happened.
Yeah. You don't have any other disaster stories then, I guess?
No, not anything that comes straight to mind. I do. I'm trying to think.
Are you?
Yeah,
are you also
one time. I'm not sure if this is going to go in the podcast, but I'll tell you.
Go on.
I was on Tinder.
Yeah.
Started chatting to this girl on Tinder. We started talking for a few days. She's married, and apparently she has an open relationship.
Oh fuck.
And we start chatting on WhatsApp for a few days. We go back and forth. It gets a bit hot and steamy. We start sending pictures and voice messages back and forth. We're having a good time. And then she says, "Why don't you come round my house on Tuesday? I'm working from home that day, and my husband's not back until the evening. So I'm free in the afternoon if you want to come round and smash things out." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Whereabouts?" And she's like, "Bethnal Green." I said, "Okay, I'll come down Bethnal Green." I show up. We meet at a pub first because she wanted to check me out and make sure I wasn't a crazy person before she brings me home. So we sit there. We get one drink in, and then we have a chat for 45 minutes. And then she said, and and I felt very pleased with myself. I thought this was a very smooth thing to say. It's one of the smoother things I've ever said in my life.
Go on.
She said, shall we get another round in or shall we go back to mine? And then is what she said. And I was like, I think we've had enough to drink, don't you?
Oh, I like it.
Do you like that?
I like
Oh,
it.
do you like
Did
that?
it land well?
It landed very
she
well.
like it?
Yeah, she liked it. She loved it. She was like, oh, she kind of not blushed, but it definitely it touched her. And then she was like, all right, let's go.
All right.
We go back to her place, and we start getting it on. Not immediately, but like we're in her living room. But then I keep seeing pictures of her and her husband, pictures of them together all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking weird, man. And then
It is, yeah.
we get into it, and then the whole time I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking, this guy, he's on the way home now. He's probably on a train somewhere. It was it was just fucking weird, and then it wasn't enjoyable. I had a good time to begin with, but the more time I spent there, it just got weirder and weirder, and then. How did it finish up? Yeah, I didn't orgasm.
Did you perform the natural obligations?
I performed the natural obligations, clearly, but
Right.
I didn't come. I didn't have an orgasm. I think I just stopped in between, and I was like, yeah, I can't. I just basically made it sound like I'm just not gonna come. I'm mentally just like not here right now. So we put our clothes back on, sat down for a bit, had a little chat, and then I left.
That's not a disaster story at all, Liban.
It's not a disaster story. It's just a very weird incident in my life.
It's not a weird incident. I think that's a testament to your character.
How is that a testament to my character? That's just
because anyone can completely understand. You want to shag a bird, you ignore everything.
I was so horny.
Don't give
my
a fuck.
God, I was so fucking horny.
Every guy understands that. But then when it came down to it, you know, I think you couldn't, because you could feel there was something wrong there. And I do think there's something wrong. I'm not judging people for that relationship. Although if you watch that Louis Theroux documentary, I mean, come on, they're weirdos, these guys. You know, how can you
I've not seen it.
Polyamory, all that stuff. I don't know. But if you that floats your boat, it floats your boat. I get you completely, and I think most people would understand.
It was just a bit
weird.
It was a bit much for me.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a testament to you having quite a traditional, romantic sensibility that you decided to say no. Actually, even though you could have just grabbed and left, you could have just if you was an insensitive person, you would have just shagged there and left, whatever. I think you thought, no, actually, this is not what I'm looking for. And actually, I don't just want the empty experience of shagging. I want, and all this other, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I'm saying? You're the one who did it.
I surprised myself is, I think, what I'm thinking, because I do remember just being incredibly horny at the time. And then I was like, just go for it, just go for it, just go for it. And then I think I probably... I don't know what the hell she's thinking, because this guy who's like 100% keen shows up, they get into it, get hot and heavy, and then just doesn't seem to be able to come, and then just says, let's stop.
Did you let her know that it was nothing to do with her attractiveness, but actually...
Yeah, no, I basically...
But that's not your job to lift her up. She's got a fucking husband, for fuck's sake.
No, but I did definitely throw myself on the grenade, and I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is all me. I'm just in my own head.
You told he was weirded out by the fact she's got a husband.
No, I didn't go into that why. I didn't say why. I did, but I did make it clear that it was me.
That's not a disaster story at all. That's not a disaster story at all. I'm liking these stories. You don't want to put any of these in the podcast, right?
Well, no, this one I might put out there. That I might be willing.
You should put this one in. You should put these in. I like hearing these stories, Liban. I like hearing these stories. Give us some more. Give us some more.
Give us some more.
Turn your pain into humour. Turn your pain into humour.
I'm trying to think.
So let me ask you in general.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you in general. What do you think of the general... Hang on, the cat's fucking... tangling up with my headphones and everything. What do you think? What do you think of generally the dating scene in
Oh,
London?
it's very horrible. It's not nice. It's not
Do you
fun.
think it's horrible for men and for women?
For both, yeah, yeah. For men, it turns into this horrible thing where you're basically just throwing yourself at anyone and everyone because
Yeah,
you just want
yeah,
any opportunity to have a human connection, and you just, yeah, you're not thinking clearly about sort of valuing yourself. You're just throwing yourself at any opportunity. And with
yeah,
women, they're so overloaded with opportunities and people coming at them, but they're not coming at them. There's so much more of just horny people who just want to fuck, and
yeah,
sure, that can be nice for a while, but if you're looking for something real, you're never gonna it's going to be impossible, and that leaves all the women in London jaded and cynical about men's intentions. It's like if you have 90% of men coming at you, all of them pretty much insincere, you're just going to start hating all men. And then
yeah.
men vice versa in the opposite situation, they're going to start being resentful of women and being like, oh, fuck women, nobody gives me a chance, blah blah blah. It's just a very terrible cesspool.
Yeah, I can verify that. I know like some girls here, beautiful girls, nice girls. They like to cook, simple. They like to work. Like proper traditional women, like what men claim to want completely.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried going on Tinder,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think they're too nice to say, but I think they immediately got just presented with a bunch of dick pics, and were like, no, actually, I mean, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
they're
and
too
even
nice for that,
but the thing
and they
is,
just immediately get rid of it.
Tinder is obviously the lowest of the low. It is like just a meat market. But even if you
Yeah,
go to the ones where it is intended for real relationships, whether it's Hinge or Bumble or OkCupid or whatever, the ones that are the
yeah,
next level up from the Sex Factory, even there, it feels like everything is disposable. It's a disposable kind of way of looking at people. So you're not
yeah,
because there's always another person when you swipe left or
yeah,
right. You're never
yeah,
going to
yeah,
take the
yeah,
person you're interacting with seriously.
yeah. Man, that's depressing.
Yeah,
How do you get out of that? How
I
do you
got out
solve
of it.
that problem?
I got out of it. The last serious relationship I had was because I met someone via swing dancing. As far as I'm concerned, my
Yeah,
next real relationship isn't going to come from something that's online. I'm back in the real world. I'm back speaking to people and trying to connect with people in sort of social situations now.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think people are generally too picky?
Are people
By
generally
people,
too
I mean
picky?
women.
Well, to
Because
be
because
fair,
because
they've got every reason to be picky. Because
yeah,
if you as soon as you go online, if you've got that many men coming to you, then you've got to be picky because you've got to look through them and actually try and find out someone who's real. And how can you tell who's real or not? You can't. You just have to look at what you think would be best on paper and hope for the best.
Liban, listening to you speak,
Go on.
one thought comes to mind.
This fucking cunt.
Shouldn't we return to arranged marriages? Hmm?
Should
Isn't
we?
there a logic in that? You know?
Well, it's as much of a chance as anything else.
Is it a chance?
Well, what I'm trying to say is, you've got as much of a chance of finding someone who you'll love and care about via arranged marriage as you would anything else. I
You
think,
can learn to love someone though, can't you? You can learn to love. And isn't relationship really? I mean, who cares about love? If you're 10 years in a relationship, okay, love, whatever. Love is work. You worked at your relationship. You've been through stuff. You've grown together, grown entangled. You know?
yeah, but
Isn't there more sense in
there's
that?
got to be something there to begin with. I think you can set up I you can set up, I guess, relationships, but I wouldn't say arranging whole full-on marriages would be helpful.
It's worked for centuries in many cultures,
Yeah,
hasn't it?
but who knows how often it works? Like, people still have divorce in those cultures. People still have very unhappy marriages and unhappy relationships in those cultures as much
Of
as we
course,
do in ours.
of course, of course. So, where are you now? What are
Where
you at now?
I'm basically where I'm at is I'm done with online dating. I do tend
Yeah,
to sort of just jump back on every once in a while when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I get lonely and I start thinking, oh shit, maybe I'll just have a look and see what's out there. But then
yeah.
I end up regretting it a few days later as soon as I start to get the feeling that this is a waste of time. So I'm basically managing to find people to date via real life. So
All right, well,
my main hobby is swing dancing. So whenever I go out swing dancing, I it's not all the time, but I keep an eye out for people I have a good connection with. I keep an eye out for someone who, when we're on the side and not dancing, I'm like, yeah, you have a chat with people because you're not dancing to every single song at a social. So you have a chat with people and then you see who's interesting and then you take it from there.
yeah, very natural. That's the way also we did it for centuries. But let me ask you this.
Let me ask you this.
Let's put love aside. Let's put love and marriage and
Hmm.
relationships aside.
Put it to the side.
Let's actually look at casual sex,
Mm-hmm.
eroticism,
Eroticism. Sex.
one night stand.
Oh, yes.
Has Tinder made all that stuff more exciting or less exciting, you think?
It's made it easier. It's not.
Easier?
It's made it easier, but I don't think it's as exciting.
Yeah, I think that. Obviously, I'm an outsider looking in.
It's
But
made it more
to me,
accessible and easier. You're not gonna have a hard time finding someone to fuck, but it's not gonna be exciting or interesting or
yeah,
mysterious or there's not gonna be a frisson there. It's gonna be very transactional. It's gonna be like,
exactly.
I'm horny. Who else is horny? Let's smash.
Isn't that terrible? When I look on the outside and I think it's ruined even the sleazy underbelly, even the seedy underworld of sex that used to exist. Don't you think so?
No, I can see that. I can see that point of
Like
view.
romance, imagine you used a guy and you just wanted to like pick up a girl, you had to go there, you had to in the moment chat her up or whatever. Not that that's easy or everything, but
Um,
there's actual fucking genuine sexiness there. Now,
well, I think it's
from
that.
what I see, it's like
Can I separate two things there? I want
yeah,
to
go on.
because there's two things being conflated there. One is the idea that men enjoy working for it, which is something I've never agreed with. Nobody in the history of mankind has ever been like, do you know what makes women sexy to me? The fact that I have to seduce them and trick them and sort of
Yeah,
play a
yeah,
game.
okay.
None of
For
that.
men, that's
None
a
of
very men. Yeah,
for
yeah.
men, none of that is interesting. So the fact that that element has been slightly removed from the game, I very much appreciate. What was I even saying? The other thing of the chance of it, I think that's what I was working towards. The possibilities of when you go to a nightclub or you go on a night out and you're talking to people and you're making eye contact and there's a chance that this works and there's a chance that it doesn't and sort of the tension of not knowing. I
Yeah,
think that's more interesting. I think that's what it is.
but that defeats your first point, doesn't it? Because for there to be a sense of risk, a sense of a sense of chance, a sense of, oh, am I going to pull this off? Am I going to fuck it up? Oh, fuck, I pulled it off. And then it's even more exciting. For that to happen, you have to remove this transactional element where you just like, look, here's my abs. All
Hmm.
right, there's your ass. Yeah, okay, let's do the deal. And you meet up, and imagine you shag. And it's just like buying
Let's
something
do
off
the deal.
Craigslist.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like there's
Basically,
buying something off Craigslist,
here's my PlayStation 3. Here's my 200 quid. Let's do the deal.
Let's do the deal. And then you get there and you negotiate. You're like, oh, I've only got 190.
Hmm.
Oh, you know,
Okay,
I'm
I
not going to go
guess
down on you. Oh, you said you would go down. Okay, but here's the.
Okay,
You
okay,
know?
let me be a bit more clearer. Maybe it's not working for it, but I think maybe it's the idea that both men and women aren't here for the same thing, and that men are the ones
Oh
who
yeah,
have
yeah,
to.
yeah.
I think that aspect being removed is what I appreciate in the 21st century dating, is that everybody's on the same playing field and we're all out here searching for something, whatever that may be.
Do you think the same playing field? It seems like the playing field's been skewed to women a bit more. Or maybe not. Maybe not actually. Maybe in the short term it's skewed to women. But I mean, they don't seem to be coming out of the current scene any
Yeah,
happier
no,
either.
absolutely not. They're just as depressed and miserable as anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. It's fascinating. I find it fascinating. You know, I was actually thinking about like, I think the reason a lot of like art is shit, movies, music, even like TV shows. I think the reason a lot of modern stuff is shit is because reality is kind of very aesthetically ugly and boring. And like one thing I was thinking of is like with romance, like how would you write a great romance that works in a modern era when relationships are so transactional? You no matter how you cut it, you
It's
can't make two people meeting on Tinder
You can't make that
buying a
interesting.
PlayStation.
No,
Yeah, you can't
you
make it.
can't make that interesting that's why any like modern romance is immediately a fantasy. It's a dreamland. It's a magic
Yeah,
wonderland. Immediately, you're separate from reality because the
yeah,
reality is not this. So it's
yeah,
it's like you're reading J.R.R. Tolkien. You're completely removed from the
yeah.
reality that we live in.
And I was thinking there's probably like young kids now who've never met anyone in a bar. They've never chatted anyone up. Literally all of their relationships have been online, this and that, whatever. But you have to like tell them, yeah, you'd have to write a romance for them that's like, yeah, you meet in a bar and then you quirky chat each other up or whatever. And it's like,
That's meaningless to them.
yeah, it's
That means
meaningless,
nothing.
yeah.
Because their reality is that they're out there. I'll tell you exactly what it is. You have an Instagram account. You put up your best
Yeah,
pictures, and
yeah,
then you make friends with lots of different people of who's in your area and who you go to school with and who you go to uni with, and then they have friends, and then they all put up their best pictures, and then you start sending each other DMs, and you're like, "Do you want to go for a coffee sometime?" And then you take it from there. So you're immediately that's how you're exposed to other people is through social media, and then you make your
Don't you think
move.
that's don't you think that's objectively shit, Liban?
Yeah,
Don't you
it's.
think there's an objectively shit decline in an aspect of modern society?
I think it's a bit dehumanizing. I don't like, but it it's convenient. I can't argue with convenience, but it does make it a bit.
Convenience is a dirty word in my book. Never
Yeah,
do things the convenient way. Take the hard way. You'll be better for it. You'll be better for it.
I don't know. It feels like it is a bit sad, but what can you do? It's not. We've unsealed Pandora's box.
We have.
We can't put it
We
back in
have.
the box.
Can we not put it back in the box? I think we might. I think there will be a future generation that completely goes away from the internet. That like this is actually. I'm not going to talk about this. This is actually a big idea of mine. I don't want to.
You don't want to put it out there quite yet.
Yeah,
All right,
quite yet.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
All right, let's change the subject. What have you got in your notes, Liban? Hit me.
I got no notes. Yeah,
You didn't write any notes. We did say we'll write some notes. And here's something I wanted to talk about. But do you have anything, Liban?
listen, I've talked a fair bit. I gave a lot in this dating segment.
I like that. I think
Like
that's brilliant.
you brought the questions, but I'm the one who was actually speaking to
No, I like
what's
it.
happening out here.
For once, you're the one speaking.
I will tell you, there's a lot more polyamory out there. I think that's one thing.
Really?
That's the one thing I can absolutely 100% point out is when I first started dating versus today. There's so many more like people out there who are like, oh yeah, I'm in a polyamorous relationship. I'm in a trio. I'm in an open marriage. I'm in a this and I'm in a that. There's so much of that out there. And
Why? Why are people engaging in this absolutely haram degeneracy?
Maybe it was always happening and it was just like people weren't that open about it. And I think people are, that one aspect of it is that people feel more comfortable being honest about their lifestyles. I think that's one thing. And then
It's so modern. That's such a modern sentence.
what?
People being more comfortable with their lifestyles.
I mean,
Come
it's
on.
true. You think this shit wasn't happening before with like swingers and people
People
swapping
cheating, yeah.
partners and yeah, this was always happening.
I mean, it's always happened, but it's always been a fringe pervert thing,
Oh, I don't know.
isn't it?
I
It's always
think
a fringe pervert thing or people cheating. Yeah, people have always cheated.
yeah. And I think maybe that's something that people are a bit more honest about now. They're like, do you know what? Rather than cheat on someone, I'm just going to be clear and say, I just want multiple relationships with lots of different people.
Well, listen, call me a misogynist, but I have to ask this. Is it mostly women who are polyamorous?
No, there's loads of men as well.
Men who are polyamorous?
Loads.
Like men who have multiple women?
Absolutely.
All right.
It goes across the board. So I
Because
think
I see-
that's something that's changed for sure.
Really? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'll ask you. I'll stop giving my opinions. What do you think? Is that a good or a bad thing?
Well, rather than say whether to say that it's good or bad, I can tell you that it's something that I'm not interested in at all. It's
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it. I'm far
Man.
far too jealous. When I am with someone, I love them deeply, and I would not want to share them with anyone. I absolutely couldn't even imagine that. So as soon as I see someone or talk to someone and that's where they're coming from, I'm like, fair plays to you, but that just I can't, leave myself vulnerable enough that you can crush me by becoming attracted to someone. You can become attracted to someone else, but you can't fucking act on it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it goes against so many of the principles of romance, let alone relationships. You know?
Go on.
Like, a relationship is about a commitment. It is about sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
It is about loyalty. And then, I don't know, polyamory seems to me like, oh, fuck all of that. A relationship is just, I have your number and I shag you sometimes. That's a relationship.
Let me be the devil's advocate. I think people who are polyamorous would argue that not every relationship needs to be a 100% romantic committed relationship, and that you don't need the same thing from everyone.
This gobbledygook. This is gobbledygook. You don't need the same. What? Are you genetically different, or are you a human in the way that humans have been acting and living?
People have preferences.
Since the beginning
People
of time?
have preferences, and some
I
people
have preferences.
Some
Here's
people,
what my preferences. I have a wife at home who cooks for me.
yeah.
I have a harem of women in another room who tend to bathe me. I have a harem of women over there who do this for me. Yeah, everyone has a fucking preference. And
if it's consensual and everybody in that relationship is happy, then what's the problem?
Well, I would argue that it leads nowhere. That's the thing. I think it's a superficially short-term satisfying thing.
Does anything lead anywhere? When you say that leads nowhere, where the hell is your romantic monogamous thing leading you to? Where's that leading? What's that leading to?
What do you mean leading to? It's a constant, formidable bond that becomes a source of strength, unity.
And you don't think someone who's polyamorous, who has a primary partner,
I don't think they have any of that.
If they've got a primary partner who they have that bond with, at the same time they have an open thing with lots of other people, you don't think they can have it both ways?
I mean, I don't want to say too much, right? But I've had a long-term relationship, right? Me and my partner. Mm-hmm. It's a woman. When I say partner, I don't mean because it's a guy. It's a woman, girlfriend. Me and my girlfriend.
I think it's fair to say partner, because once you've been with someone long enough, saying girlfriend doesn't feel
my wife.
heavy.
I call her my wife sometimes.
But you know what I mean? That's just as a quick aside. I do think the word girlfriend is
too modern for me.
It's too light, if anything, when you've been with someone for such a long time.
All right, so my wife, I've been with my wife for 10 years, right? We've been through a lot
rushing
of
on
shit.
beyond. I made such a good point there.
That was
you don't
such a
even
good
care.
point. Look,
You
just
don't even
you
care.
have the two different audios. Just mute me that whole time, and just leave your audio on. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. When I'm interrupting you, make me sound better by shutting me up completely.
All right. Go ahead. So
But
you've been with your lady for 10 years.
we've been through absolute shit, unemployment, no money. We had long periods where we couldn't even afford to. We're both living with our parents in our fucking 30s, no job, no hope, right? I mean, imagine that long distance relationship. You're at your parents, right? But you work at it, you know. There've been times where you hate each other. Of course, you hate your wife sometimes, and your wife for sure hates you sometimes. But you work through it, and it all, you know, at the end of it, the fact that you've endured the shit together means that, you know, you feel a bit more solidly based for life. You know that you've been through this, you've bonded with someone, you have someone else who understands you, you've grown together.
Here's the question. Why can you not have that? What you just described, have exactly that at the same time as you open yourself up to someone else in London when you were both apart?
Because then, I mean, there's no sacrifice there then, is there?
No.
What is your relationship actually if you're perfectly willing to go off? Oh, I'm going to stay at this other cunt's for a weekend, I'm going to sleep with her all weekend, and I'm going to talk to her, and I'm going to share my innermost secrets with her. Like the first woman you've been with, what is she then? How important is she? The point is that the one person is the one person in your life. You're loyal to it, you know? It's hard. It's fucking hard, right? But at the same time, you reap the benefits because it's hard. It's like what you're saying, like convenient. It's convenient. I'll go over here and I'll just shag this, I'll go over this, you know?
I'm with you 100. I'm with you 100%. I couldn't agree more. I'm just arguing for the sake of it, but I do agree with you when I say, for me personally, what I find that works for me and what I find I can emotionally invest myself in is that kind of monogamous relationship.
Yeah. I mean, how do you even know that a person, and where is that going? Where is that polyamory going? You know, where is that going to be 10 years, 20 years? Do you really think you're going to grow old together?
Well, I
You
think
really
some people do. I think some people feel that way.
You think so? And then they grow old together, like, maybe, I don't know, but I think still, I don't have much respect for it. I'm sorry, that's offensive to people. I don't have much respect for it. I respect people. I respect people who make sacrifices. You know,
Yeah.
it's worth doing things the hard way, and the hard way is the monogamous way. Isn't it? I think you know, as hard as it is, you reap the rewards of it. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's what I see in that is a little bit of a symptom of modern life, where a lot of us want to have the best of every world. We want to have our cake and eat it. I think that there is an element of that where people see choices and they want every choice. Where I think traditionally, people make choices and then they follow through and stick with whatever choice they made.
Yeah.
And that's not just in relationships. I think that applies to a bit of everything.
That's everything, and that's interesting, especially when you say that men are doing this as well. Because I think for men, you know, self-discipline is quite important. You know, as a man, I think self-discipline is really the path to much greater things. And like,
oh, that's a nice quote. Is that from you or from someone else?
that's from me. Just thought of it.
Say it again.
Self-discipline is the path to much greater things.
For men.
I think for men, it's very important. And in fact, I think it's.
What about for women?
For men.
Do women not need self-discipline?
Why
does this apply in particular to men? I'm curious.
And not only that, I was about to say, self-discipline is, I think, perhaps the essence, the heart of masculinity.
Interesting.
You know, true
Okay.
masculinity is all about self-discipline. I think a woman can have it, cannot have it. I don't think it has any real genuine effect. I think for men, it's a core principle of masculinity. And I was going to say, look, I don't want to give personal information, but you know, I live in a part of the world where there is a lot of attractive women.
Mm-hmm.
There are attractive women in abundance. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many attractive women. It's not hard for a guy to, you know,
Yeah.
get attention from an attractive woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a constant act of self-discipline to be loyal, to be. This is too much personal. We're gonna have to
No,
cut
I
this.
think it's interesting though. I think that's something that people don't think about.
So it's a constant act of self-discipline just to be a guy here and have a relationship that you're loyal to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that sacrifice is important. You know, life isn't all just good stuff. If you just take the good stuff all the time, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna eat chocolate 3 times a day. Yeah, great. Where does
See,
that get you? Where does that get you?
this is such an interesting topic because for me, one of the flaws that I've always thought I had, personally speaking, is a lack of self-discipline. Is
Really?
It's something that I've always struggled with, and it's one of those thoughts I've always had in the back of my minds where I wonder, where would I be today, or who would I be if I had the self-discipline to do something and stick with it, or to go for something and do it repeatedly and
Yeah.
not give up or not lose interest, or even when I do lose interest, stick with it and work through it and see if I can come out the other side, you know, having accomplished something. So it is something that I've definitely improved. I was like incredibly self-indulgent when I was younger, where I had this approach where I thought discipline doesn't really matter. I just follow my interest wherever it takes me. This year I'm creatively interested in this. I'm going to fall into this, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then when I lose interest, life is a restaurant, and I'll order something else off the menu and I'll go for that. And I think I've sort of slowly gone away from that, and I've gotten better at sticking with things and seeing where it takes me.
I would have never said you were lacking in self-discipline. I would have never said that. I would have thought actually you have a decent element of self-discipline. Like what I was saying about how you learn stuff. You said you're going to learn something, and then you actually put a dedication in to learn it, you know?
Mm, yeah, I guess in a way, yes. But in another way, I'm also very self-indulgent when it comes to having a good time, going out and drinking, eating food,
That's
and
not
just
self. I
going
wouldn't
to
say that's
town.
self.
I'm very like, I enjoy pleasure. I'm a
No,
bit of
I,
I'm a hedonist at heart, I think. And I've always got to fight the hedonist in me, because part of me is always going to want to wake up really late in the day, spend the whole night having
yeah.
fun, going out, or spending the whole night reading a good book, and then spending the whole day sleeping, waking up in the afternoon, eating like terrible food, and then going out and having a good. If I was a rich person who didn't have to work, my natural lifestyle would be horrific. I wouldn't make it past 35.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of that stuff is that bad though, and not even about self-discipline. Like going out and having drinks. I mean, you live in London. You're a single guy. What you know? What else are you going to do? Sit at home and read the Bible? Like, you know. I mean, self-discipline where it matters. Like on you know, self-discipline when it comes to certain aspects of your life that you know it's good to exercise that self-discipline. You know. You're not in danger of becoming like an alcoholic or going out 7 days a week, 7 nights a week, raving, are you?
No, I'm not.
You
But
know?
I could. Oh, but it does sound like a good time. But I don't think I could physically do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't know. And, you know, polyamory, I don't know much about, admittedly. But I do remember that Louis Theroux documentary. It was a recent one as well. I think it was that last year where he went to Portland, some hipster city in America. And and I remember thinking, all right, it's going to be happy faces and they're going to be living this weird lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. But there was something very wrong. You could sense there was something kind of wrong in a lot of those, not in the people, but in the situation. And they felt it. They didn't seem quite happy. And they seemed like the polyamorous people. They seemed like they were like trying to get at something and not quite getting there.
I
Do you
think
know what I mean?
correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't seen the documentary, but one thing I've noticed with a lot of people who live a fringe lifestyle or who live a lifestyle that's different from the mainstream is
Yeah.
that they always have very clear terminology and very clear ideas about why they do what they do and how they live with it, and how it's actually left them in a more positive place, and how they feel more secure and more like trusting. And there's always a very strong positive, like strong
Terminology,
strong
words.
that they're putting forward to show people
Mate.
that everything is like
Let me
just
stop you.
perfect. And I always look at that and I think that's almost like people are overcompensating
Yes.
because they maybe aren't as secure in the way that they're living, or as secure as they portray themselves to be.
This is why I loved Freud when I was a kid. Still love Freud. Still think he's right. Still don't like people saying, "Oh, but he was wrong about a lot of things." Yeah, fuck off. But one of the splits I have away from Freud, and why I lean a bit more towards Jung now, not that they're vastly different, is that it's all about his talk and cure. Freud thought you could talk your pathologies out,
Neuroses.
your psychopath. Yeah. And as I've grown older, I've kind of, maybe it's the modern world even, I've realized that people sometimes use words to distance themselves from the reality rather than reveal the reality. You know, people wrap stuff in academic language, wrap stuff in terminology, and it's almost like they're pushing it away from the actual emotion
Detaching
of the
a bit.
thing. Yeah, detaching it away. They've got words for it. It makes sense rationally in the English language, like a mathematical equation. It makes sense right there on the page. So, you know, surely it makes sense to you. And actually, I think sometimes, no, actually, emotions are abstract. There's no, you can't explain. Like when I'm trying to explain, like, having a relationship for 10 years, it being hard, but also rewarding, I can't think of very specific words. I can't wrap you up in a bunch of modern academic
Do you know why?
terminology about why that's good.
Because we don't have ideas, just feelings.
Just feelings,
No
yeah.
ideas,
But
just feelings.
Exactly. Because there's no words for it. People just get
It's
that.
a lived
You
experience. You've either lived the experience and you know what someone's talking about, or
Exactly.
we could write 10,000 words and it
No.
wouldn't move you.
It's not lived experience even. I think even single people will get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I have a very solid relationship with my wife. Extremely good relationship in every aspect. I feel accepted, supported, protected.
Beautiful.
I offer the same things.
Beautiful. Love it. Love to hear it.
Absolute 100% trust. A perfect relationship. You know, there's no academic language to put that in, but I think people will get it. You know, and then when you have to give me all this fucking 10,000 word essay thing. Maybe you're hiding. Maybe all those words are hiding the truth rather than revealing it. You know.
So, did you get that sense from the Louis Theroux documentary?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. But then the question is, why do people do it? I do think it's superficially appealing, but I think people have the wrong idea about and I think it will end in disaster. Look, if someone could come back to me, say, look, we've lived 10 years, the 5 of us are in a relationship, fine, whatever. But there is no one like that, because as we all know, communes end in rape and murder.
Oh God,
that's no joke. Actually,
is that a known thing where communes just end badly?
Yeah. All those 60s communes, in the 60s, hippie love, we're gonna have free love,
everybody lived together
future,
and
man. Everyone lived together. You fuck who you want. We're just gonna smoke drugs and fucking have a great time. Almost all of those fucking communes ended up disastrously. Disastrously, with I mean it, rape and murder, like with that kind of shit.
I didn't know that.
Or the fucking Manson family. The
I
Manson
thought
family
most
were a
of them
commune.
just fizzled out because you can. I thought it was mostly financial reasons where people were like, "Oh shit, we actually need money to live in the modern world," and then they slowly drifted away from that lifestyle.
No, they were mostly trust fund kids. They were fine for money. I mean,
Oh,
obviously, a lot of people
interesting.
like took one look and then, I mean, a lot of guys just probably went there, shagged what they wanted, and went off as soon as it got weird.
Mhm.
But they did end up disastrous. The Manson, Charles Manson, had a commune. It was like literally a stereotypical commune. And then it ended up becoming like a weird fucking cult. That, you know,
Gotcha.
I'm not saying that polyamory couples are ending up like that, but you know, it's a similar
Dynamic.
pathology. You know.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I guess what polyamorous people would say is a lot of monogamous relationships also end up with, people divorced and in worst case scenarios, abusive husbands and wives who kill and murder each other. So it is just part of the human condition that some things end up violent and ugly.
I think, you know what? A lot, really.
There's always arguments for it.
I think that when you're talking, okay, but you know what? People who cross the road sometimes get hit by cars. A lot of people who cross the road get hit by cars. What's your point? What's your point? Everything happened.
The point is, if everything happens, you just live your life the way that you want to, because it doesn't really matter. It's all gonna end up.
Don't live the life the way you want to. Don't live your life the way you want to.
Go on.
If you live the life the way you want to,
this is the nugget of this episode. Take this. Listen very closely, men and women of the world. Johnny's about to lay out some truth. One, don't live your life the way you want to. Do you know what? I'm gonna shut up. Sorry, Johnny. Please speak.
If you live your life the way you want to, what do you want to do? You want to eat fast food. You want to sit in front of your computer and watch Netflix shows. Yeah, live the life the way you want to, but you also want to be loved. You also want to have friends. You also want, but no, you live the life the way you want to, and now now you get in the buggy at Walmart. Now you have to go in the buggy to do shopping in Walmart. You know? You know what I'm saying, Liban?
I know exactly what
you
you're saying.
can't live the life the way you want to. There's, biological restrictions. There's societal restrictions. You can't live the life you want to. What you got to figure out is, I don't know. Just figure it out. But
figure something out.
I will say, I don't think the convenient route. I think the convenient route is very, very rarely the good one.
It's not the gratifying one anyway.
It's often in the short term.
Yeah, you're trading short term for long term gratification.
Yeah, you pay the price.
Absolutely. Was this more of what you had in mind for the podcast? Long form discussions and chats? And,
I don't know. This is quite serious.
This is much more naturalistic, isn't it?
This is
rather than doing segments where we just do like this corner and the conspiracy corner and the email.
I do like the segment.
I mean, I love a segment, but I also love just having a long chat like this and just talking about something.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's been interesting because we're not so funny this time. We're not constantly looking for the funny angle. We actually had a genuine chat.
But I think the thing is, we talk about a friendship simulator. I think friendships have both sides of it. You have days where you hang out and with your friend, and all you're doing is you're cracking jokes from the minute you're both in a silly mood. You're both in a mood to have a bit of a laugh, so you end up spending the whole day joking. And then you have other times when you sit there over a beer or over a drink or cup of coffee, and you sort of you put the world to rights. You look around the world and you look at how you're living, and you look at all sorts of different things, and you go into it and start talking about it.
Of course.
And that's just as gratifying and fun.
Absolutely.
It's not a non-stop laughter, but it's fun in a different way. I mean, I've had a great time today.
Listen, we've given people enough laughs. I think there's a lot of funny stuff in those first few episodes.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
No, absolutely. There were plenty of laughs.
That first episode, I don't know if it gets better the longer I don't listen to it. I tell you something, You know what the first thing we should do when we start the Patreon?
Yeah.
And you have to do extra episodes that you got to pay for.
Yeah.
We should do a director's commentary on the first episode.
Just immediately, yeah. Yeah,
Just
just us
we listened to
reacting
that.
to it. And then
Us reacted to
a
it. Yeah,
director's commentary just going, my God, we were good. My God, would you
we were
listen to
good.
that?
We were good.
Holy
I
shit.
remember this. I remember this moment. It was so funny because I was actually thinking of saying this, and I said this other thing. Oh, but that was actually better. Yeah, but I mean, this conversation could have gone a completely different way. Yeah, really lightning in a bottle.
Has there
Yeah,
ever been
really.
a director's commentary for a conversation? I don't. This might be the first one. I think this is.
Probably. Yeah.
No one's done a
Fuck it. We'll
director's
do.
commentary for a podcast.
Liban, we need to blaze our own trail with this. You know.
Shut it down. That is quite enough of that. We've given you a bit of a longer conversation than what you're used to. I hope you enjoyed it. To take us out, rather than just fade out as we usually do, I want to take you into a new segment, a new corner that I've invented called the affirmation space. I want to focus and help the people who listen to this work on their mental health. And I want to, send you out into the world in a positive mindset. So today, I want you to pause this and go stand in front of a mirror. Do it. Go ahead. I'll wait. I'm not going anywhere. Pause this right now. Stand up. Go to your bathroom. Close the door behind you. Stand in front of the mirror while listening to this. Okay? Are you in front of the mirror? Excellent. Thank you for respecting the podcast. Thank you for respecting the relationship between you and me. This is important. And I know that, this is weird, but you knew this was going to be weird. You knew this was going to be out of the ordinary. It's not going to be your normal podcast where you just passively listen. You knew from day one that I would actively ask you to do things so that we could get closer. And this is one of them. So thank you for engaging and for being present and for being willing to give of yourself as much as we give to you. So you're in front of the mirror. I want you to look at yourself. And here's the thing. When you're looking at yourself in the mirror, a lot of us have a really bad habit of looking at ourselves with the worst eyes, with the most critical, with the harshest point of view. We see all of the flaws, none of the beauty, none of the depth, none of the good sides that everybody else actually loves us for. So today, when you're looking at yourself, before we even get into the mantra of the week, I want you to look at yourself with kind eyes. Look at yourself with the same eyes that you look at your best friend, you look at your partner, you look at your family who loves you. Just look at yourself the way that other people see you who actually care about you. Kind eyes is key in this exercise. Kind eyes, let's get to it. Repeat after me. I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who don't take no crap off of nobody. Did you say it? Feel free to pause it and just repeat it and practice saying it yourself until you're comfortable. Let me say it again. I want you to say, I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who don't take no crap off of nobody. Do you hear me? Listen, this mantra for this week, I want you to just for this week. Next week or in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have a different one. But for now, I want you to take that. I want you to internalize it. I want you to use it. I want you to stand in front of lots of different mirrors. The mirror at work, the mirror at your gym, the mirror at home. Any bathroom mirror where you've got a bit of space to yourself and a bit of privacy, you stand there and you say it with me. Let's say it together now. You know how to say it. Let's do it. I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who don't take no crap off of nobody. And with that, good night.